A boy was walking his bumblebee. He tied it to a string. The sky was lit up with violet light. A bird began to sing a song of sixpence.
Live! All right. Okay, so Kate and I are running behind on our book this month, so Jen is coming in to fill in, and we're going to talk about I Am Pilgrim, which yay, you have an actual copy of the book. I got it. I ended up getting it as an ebook.
The funny thing is this is the dust jacket. I lent the book to a friend at work, so oh well.
So we both got this as a Klout perk, and we both really, really liked it. So
yeah.
I thought we'd have a little special hangout and talk about it. It's a thriller, which is I don't read a lot of.
Yeah, no, especially because most of what I have time to read is for the Vaginal Fantasy Book Club.
Oh wait, I'm getting an echo. Okay. Oh, sorry. Turn that off. All right. So I was a little dubious at first because they were giving it to me for free.
Yeah, and it looks like they were giving it to a lot of people for free. I'm like, if you keep giving this book out, who's going to be left to actually buy the book?
Right. It was released in the UK earlier and had actually gotten good reviews.
Right.
So I'm actually not sure why they gave it away for free, but
I'll take a free book.
Yeah, I will totally take a free book. You got the Klout perk first, and I was all sad because I want the book perks.
I don't know how I did that because I don't tweet about books that much, but hey, I'll take it.
Klout is a little random sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, we're both do the well. I don't know if they count like the vaginal fantasy stuff. I don't know if Klout understands that is about books.
I don't know. I've seen some of the things that show up on that hashtag, so
yeah. But yeah, so then I got it too, and I actually had some problems with mine. Like mine never came in the mail, and I had mentioned that on Twitter, and one of the guys from Simon & Schuster actually tweeted me back and said, you know, email me if you. And so I emailed him, and he said, well, I'll overnight it to you, or you can get it through NetGalley, because I told him that. Cool. So I ended up doing it that way. That's why I got the ebook.
Nice.
It was very nice. He was very nice.
Hey, whatever it takes. Uh-oh.
Oh.
You froze on me for a second there.
Yeah, you froze on me too. Oh, the joy of Hangouts.
Yeah. I as I was reading this, I have to say I didn't actually read the author's bio.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited because once I did, I realized he was actually he's a movie. He has written movies. And it made a lot of sense, especially near the end. The last couple parts felt really cinematic to me.
Yes.
And I could absolutely see this as a movie.
Yeah.
The characters were very compelling and very clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Some people said in some reviews that they weren't happy with the descriptions, like the physical descriptions of people, and I felt like I got just enough that I had actors in my head, or whatever that usual nondescript dude is for a character like Pilgrim.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't have a super clear idea of what the main character looked like, but I feel like that was fitting.
Yeah, we shouldn't recognize him on the street.
Yeah, because he is he's innocuous by definition.
Right. He should just sort of blend in and be forgettable.
Yeah.
As the super spy.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the premise. Is there's like the main character is a super spy, and there is a terrorist. No, well, not a terrorist organization, a terrorist.
Right.
Plotting to kind of destroy America. And that was, as I was initially reading it, that I was a little concerned that it was kind of anti-Muslim, pro-America. But by the end, I don't think any country was presented in a particularly good light.
No, I think it kind of showed the faults in all, and the
Right.
fault and what we have done as a country has bred in these other countries, and I agree. I didn't feel like at the end it was any sort of screed against anything, except the one thing that I think it did do for me was make me go, oh my goodness, they can really get a lot of my information. Like, the government knows all.
Yeah.
And it felt very real. It felt very realistic. It didn't seem like there was any kind of technology in there that was just so crazy it wasn't actually available.
Right. Yeah, it was. I as I was reading it, I was wondering like how well researched this book is, and like how plausible this scenario is. Because if it's plausible at all, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's definitely a picture of living in a post 9/11 world.
Well, and a accessible world. Really, how much access we have to anything as they're going through how he's talking about how the terrorist acquired all of the pieces that he acquired to make this super virus. It was like he's getting stuff off eBay, and he's or medical supply places that are seemingly selling these very inconsequential pieces to what ends up being a really scary puzzle when it's all fit together. And and he was patient, and that was the other thing, was it just took patience and time, and and so
yeah, it was frightening, and just the super spy stuff was frightening, and it's all stuff that you sort of assume goes on, like the torture and the secret machinations between countries and assassinations and secret bases, out in the desert.
I loved the idea of this the main character Pilgrim, what he had done prior to this book is as the rider on the blue, or the being part of this spy organization it's like this. It reminded me of the phrase, like, who watches the Watchmen? Like, they were the spy organization of spy organizations,
right?
And so they were really they were the top of the food chain in that regard, and like nobody knew about them except a handful of people in like the executive branch. And I thought that was really interesting. And then after 9/11 and all of that, and all that scrutiny, the fact that organization, instead of coming to be, which you would almost expect, it got torn down. I thought that was kind of interesting and folded in. I wonder, that was the one piece where I was like, wow, I wonder if he just made that up, or is there really...
Yeah, like I wondered that the whole thing, like, what out of this novel is real and what is just, invention. And if he ever comes around for a signing or anything, maybe I will get to ask him.
Right. Yeah. Find
I'm
out
sure
what
that's
his,
a common question.
yeah, the research process on it, I think must have been really interesting.
Yeah.
And potentially filling in a lot of blanks too.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's not any interviews or anything with him out yet. Did you see, I liked their page on Facebook, the I Am Pilgrim page, and they posted a little article about how Hillary Clinton is reading it right now.
Oh, really?
Which I thought was funny.
I was like, I wonder if she got it through a Klout perk. No, I didn't, but that tickles me. And I'm pretty sure I actually did like the page, and I agree. I'm surprised that the author hasn't. There's no interviews or anything like that, especially because they're giving this book away, like,
Right.
and it seems like they're trying to push the press, push press and also push word of mouth, and the fact that word of mouth at least hasn't gotten strong enough to get an interview with this guy. So.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like a perfect like NPR kind of interview, and the timing too. I mean, because you've got all this stuff with ISIS going on, and they just declared, I don't remember what exactly it's called, but the Muslim nation. Yeah. So it's very timely.
I know about ISIS only because I'm a terrible person, and every time I hear ISIS, all I can think of is Archer. And, and they're like, we have to keep the weapons out of ISIS' hands. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, and I don't know a huge amount about it. I listen to NPR while I'm getting ready in the morning. And they've been talking a lot about it, so that's the extent of my knowledge. But when they're talking about it, I totally am thinking of this book.
Yeah, even with the NSA stuff and things like that, where it's all. I think there's a lot of relevant things happening in this book, and as with the even the three teenagers in Israel, and you had the three tourists in this book who were abducted. Like, I mean, there's just people will find parallels all over the place. I think that the sad fact of the matter is that I don't know if we'll ever see an end to stuff like this in my lifetime. I have very little hope, and a book like this doesn't really help, but it certainly is interesting and exciting to read. I found it really, really engrossing.
Yeah, and it's also interesting. I don't remember exactly where I saw it, but I saw an article on how was it the Mujahideen? Mujahideen, like out in the desert, the freedom fighters.
Yeah.
There's apparently a lot of the current freedom fighters basically out there doing the same thing are like posting on Instagram.
Oh, really?
There's
selfie.
there's lots of cats with guns and M&Ms.
Oh,
it was bizarre. I'll have to see if I can find it, and I'll put that as a note, because it was interesting and disturbing, but very like human all at the same time. It was really bizarre.
The one of you mentioning that actually reminds me that was one of the other reasons that I found this book so interesting as well, is the fact that things in Afghanistan have taken another kind of turn for the worse, and so there is talk about the warlords and the fighting and things like that, and it all helped bring it together really nicely for me. I thought it not nicely. I don't know if that's the right word, but a level of authenticity to it that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
as a work of fiction. Please.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, so I actually bought a copy of this for my stepdad for Father's Day.
Nice.
So, because he tends to like, what is the name of the series? Jack Reacher? I have not.
Oh, the ones that they made a movie, didn't they?
Yeah, I guess the movie was not supposed to be very good, but they really like this book series. So it seemed kind of a little bit in that vein, the thriller vein. So I don't know if he's read it yet. I haven't heard back whether he liked it, but I was going to send him the link about Hillary Clinton, and it was like, look, you're reading the same book that Hillary Clinton is reading.
He may or may not like that, depending on how he is.
Like that. My dad would hate that, but my stepdad would like it.
Yeah, if I gave that one to my dad, I wouldn't be all, Hillary's reading it. No.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wonder too if this will eventually because like you said, it's so cinematic, and the guy who wrote it does movies. I wonder if this will end up as a movie sometime, or because he does movies, it won't, because this was a completely different thing for him.
Right.
To be doing.
And I know there's a picture of him in this dust cover.
Oh, I have not seen that.
And,
interesting.
Part of me was hoping that he was maybe he was a fake writer, or like it was a ghost name or a pen name, and then we were going to find out this was like another like J.K. Rowling novel or something. And that's why we haven't seen any interviews with him.
What's great is that if he really is a super spy, and that's a pen name, because
right.
in the book,
the
main
character so meta.
has written a book, and there are like murders and things that happen that are based off his book that he wrote under a pen name because he's a super spy, and he
right.
So that would be great.
There were so many storylines happening, and as you're reading this, you have all these different murders, and they all seem so disparate, and you don't know what is going on. And was that even the right word, disparate? I am drinking wine. Like they all they all seem unrelated, and in the end they're still fairly unrelated, and yet they're not.
Yeah, because it kind of starts with this like gruesome, and a lot of this book is gruesome.
It is a little gruesome.
There's torture, and there's cruelty and badness, and so if you don't like that stuff, maybe you won't like it. But
I think it's on a Bones level. Like for me, it was like maybe a little higher, like a little more disgusting than Bones, but not too much more disgusting.
Yeah, and it all felt fitting to the story. Like it was a kind of exposing the worst parts of humanity kind of story, and I think I kind of lost my train of thought there. But I'm not even drinking wine. Started with the gruesome murder in New York, and travels around through the Middle East and Greece, and oh my God, that rave platform in Greece. I looked that up, and that exists.
Really? That like the platform in the middle of the water thing?
Yeah, so there's these ruins in Greece that are partially submerged by sea.
Right.
And when the tide goes out, there's this big platform that is exposed. And I know they've had at least one big party on it. I think it's something that happens periodically, but looks so cool.
That read really cool. I mean, that read like something that I'm so excited that it actually does exist. I should have looked that up, but I didn't.
Yeah, and I don't know if the crowd that goes there is accurate. I'm guessing it probably is. It sounded like a very. I was expect to be at a rave in a ancient ruin platform in Greece, wealthy and see or be seen kind of.
Yeah, and that's funny, because in my head it was sort of a combination of that and Burning Man.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of too. And I think it's more club scene, but there's probably like some Burning Man kind of people and elements to it. And I would love to go do that.
Yeah, right? Let's go.
Yes. That would be amazing. I'll look that up again too and put the link to that because it's just really cool.
Yeah, that fell in that cropped up a number of times, and I was like, oh, interesting. And I thought it was neat too because for Pilgrim, that particular area ends up being sort of a linchpin for his career, right. Really. I mean, it sort of like the full circle, his very first mission, and then what's hopefully his last.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the psychological stuff that went along with, I mean, he in the course of his job, he did a lot of bad things, and, he did them because it was his job and it was for the better good in most, in most cases. But he had a lot of guilt about the things that he had to do. And I love gray area, so I liked that there was a lot of gray area. I mean, even with the terrorist,
Yeah, absolutely. And his, I found the sister, the terrorist sister.
Yeah.
It really interesting. There's a woman who's stuck between a rock and a hard place who really is, for a woman in the Middle East, and granted it's Turkey and it's a little more progressive, but she's still somebody who wears the headscarf, and for all intents and outward appearances is a fairly devout Muslim woman, and but then she also is very modern because she's working, which is clearly something that her brother would not be cool with.
Right.
And but is taking care of his son, and there's so much. It's just really interesting. I don't know how spoilery this podcast gets, but I just spoileried some things.
Yeah. In general, I say that. We're talking about the book. Like, if you haven't read it and you don't want spoilers, don't listen.
Right.
So,
yes. I was surprised how quickly I read it. I didn't think that it would. I thought I would start it and I would maybe get a few chapters in and put it down and go read something else. And I kept going, and I couldn't put it down, especially those last couple parts. The way that it's divided up and the size of the chapters makes it go very quickly.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, normally you're just like, oh, just one more chapter. And then with this one, it's more like, oh, just 4 more chapters.
Yeah, they're very short chapters. But yeah, I was the same way. Like, since it was a physical book and I don't have a huge amount of, physical book reading time, I wasn't sure how fast I get through it, but it was the first hard to put down book that I've read in a while, and I was going to lunch and leaving work to go to lunch and read.
Yeah. I'm still trying to finish the June Vaginal Fantasy book main read.
Oh, yeah. Well, I finished the main read, but I'm listening to the alt read, and it's also quite thick. I like it, but it's thick.
Yeah. It makes me worried, if this month's books aren't very good, I'm thinking, I'll just keep reading what I'm reading.
Yeah, I guess I haven't even gone to see what the books are.
I don't have time.
I know. Yeah, and like I said, Kate and I are both really behind on our what month is it? June book. It's July now. And we're driving together to a wedding this weekend, and we had said, like, I downloaded the audiobook, and we're like, we'll just listen to the audiobook, but now we have more people in the car, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
Just tell them to shush.
So we'll see. But cool. Well, thanks for joining me to talk about this book.
I Am Pilgrim.
We both recommend it. I think it makes for a really good summer read.
Yeah, absolutely. Action-packed, but still thoughtful and intelligent. It's a very intelligent read.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that you're probably people that will be hearing a lot more about it, especially if Hilly.
Yeah. If she likes it, that's
Yeah, that's true. If she likes it. So maybe we'll get an interview from him somewhere and hear how much reality is in the book. I'm not sure I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. And have a good night, everybody.
Ooh, good night.